Hello and welcome to the chapter on sensation and perception. Now, a lot of students, after they've taken psychology and years go on, they usually remember this chapter because it has a lot of interesting images. It's very visual. So people tend to remember this chapter way after they've taken psychology. And I'll show you a few interesting pictures. And we're going to talk about the difference between sensation and perception. First, I want to show you a picture, and there I am in the middle. And one day, my girlfriend told me, "Hey, I saw your picture, and man, they really messed with your face." I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" She said, "Oh, well, they gave you a beard, and they made your eyebrows real pointy. They made you look like a devil, and they colored your face." And I looked at the photo, and I said, "You're absolutely wrong. That isn't a beard. That's simply the shadow from my fingers. And my eyebrows, I'm just making a face, so they're real pointy." She was very adamant that they had distorted my face. And I said, No, you're all wrong. But her perception was that they had changed my face, and she was laughing adamantly. So her perception was incorrect. Let me show you a photo talking about the difference between sensation and perception. You're going to look briefly at a picture and then answer some questions about it, all right? Don't dwell on the picture, look at it only long enough to take it all in at once. Fair enough. After this, you'll answer yes or no to a series of questions. All right. The picture is a sketch of a trained seal act. Are you ready to see a sketch of a trained seal act? Well, here it is. A sketch of a trained seal act. Did you see a man? What about a woman? A whip? Did you see a cane? Did you see a man's hat? What about a ball? Did you see a fish? Some of those you may have seen. Some of you might have seen all of this if you're very perceptive. The picture is a sketch of a Cinderella costume celebration. Now, it's the same photo, and if we look at the picture of the seal, it could also be interpreted as a woman with a dress, and the seal, instead of the ball, is a very fancy hat with a large feather, and it's covering her face. So there is a man, there is a woman, there is a whip, but it could also be interpreted as a cane, a man's hat, a ball. If you see the seal first, your interpretation is that it's a ball. If you see the Cinderella scene, it's more of a hat with a feather and a fish. The man's hat is now a fish. So some people are able to see both images quickly, others are not. Here's another photo I want you to look at. Some of you may see one picture, some of you may see two, and some of you might even see 3 pictures in one. It's how you interpret this photo. It's of a young girl. This is the side of her face, this is her nose, and this is her eye, and she's looking away from you. However, you could also interpret this as an old lady. This is her nose right here, and this is her chin. However, you're looking on this side, we see a man. This is his eye, his nose, and a mustache. So 3 photos in one, and some people are very good at picking up all 3, others are not. And this is what we mean by examples of perception. And different people perceive things differently. Now let's talk about sensation. Sensation, detection of the external world using our senses. You know, we walk around the world around us and we pick up different visual cues. Now, this is called bottom-up processing, looking around the world. Sensory processes at the entry level with information going from our senses, like our eyes, to the brain. So we walk around and we look around and we see things and we give information to our brain. Now that's what sensation is. Now, many times we are using sensation as we walk around into the world. But sometimes perception takes over. And let me tell you the difference between sensation and perception. Let's look at this photo. Using your senses, what do you see? Now, it looks like an ink blot. There's a lot of ink on a picture here, on a white canvas. Now, if I tell you to look carefully, there is a Dalmatian here in the ink blot. Here's the left leg. Here's the head of the Dalmatian sniffing the floor. Now, it's hard to see, but once I tell you to perceive a Dalmatian here, you might be able to see an outline of it. Perception. Interpreting sensory information, recognizing objects and events. Now, our perception of things is what we call top-down processing. Processing by high-level mental reasoning from the brain to the senses. Now, what does that mean, top-down processing compared to bottom-up processing? When we look in the mirror, many times we are using top-down processing. In other words, what I mean is when you look in the mirror, you don't look at yourself objectively, because maybe you're going to see things you don't like. So when you look in the mirror, all you're going to do is focus on those negative aspects that you really don't like. You're going to look at the eyebrows that you hate, or the nose that you don't like, or maybe your ears that stick out. Whatever it is, instead of just looking at yourself from an objective point of view, you begin to pick on yourself. Your perception is therefore negative. Now, that's not always the case. I mean, some people, their perception is that they're absolutely stunning, right? They're narcissistic. And again, they're not looking at themselves objectively. Their perception is that they are phenomenal. So that's what I mean by top-down processing. Sometimes we interpret the world not from what our eyes see, but from what our brain sees. Now I'm going to give you a perfect example of top-down processing. So here we see a paragraph. Now in this paragraph, the letters are all mixed up. However, the first and the last letter of every word is correct. So one of the things that has been discovered is people can read as long as the first letter and the last letter are correct. It doesn't matter how the letters are in the middle. The brain will do the work for you, and that's what we mean by top-down processing. So I'm going to read this paragraph. According to research at Cambridge University, it doesn't matter in what order the letters in a word are. The only important thing is that the first and the last letter be at the right place. The rest can be a total mess, and you can still read it without a problem. This is because the human mind does not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole. So that's what we mean by top-down processing. Most people can read this, even though the letters are mixed up. It doesn't really matter. So we do interpret the world according to our perception. Now, once again, like in my other PowerPoint slides, the terms that are in yellow, and those are the most important. There might be some additional information. Those are in white letters. That's not the most important. That's additional information. But if it's in yellow, then that's a definition you need to know. Like this definition right here. It says signal detection theory. What is signal detection theory? The ability to tell the difference between the background noise and sensory stimuli, or whatever is important to you, for example. For example, we're all in the same world walking around, but we're noticing different things. We're picking up on different things that are important to us, things that we deem that we like or value. For example, I was with my girlfriend and we were loading groceries, and a motorcycle was passing by in the background, and I turned my head to look for it. She told me every time a motorcycle passes, you look around. It's almost like a dog whistle. If I hear a motorcycle driving by, I'm going to turn my head. I just want to see, what does it look like? Is it a Harley? Is it an old Victory motorcycle? Is it new? Is it old? How cool does it look? Now, she doesn't even pay attention to the motorcycle noises. It's not important to her. But all of us pay attention to different cues, things that we see as vital or important. And we're picking up on those things. Signal detection theory. And you think about, what do you pay attention to? You probably notice things that most people don't even pay attention to. So for me, I might notice motorcycles in the background. If you're with little children, they're going to notice balloons and they're going to get all crazy for balloons. Whereas now that we're older, maybe we don't pay attention to balloons all that much. And if you notice at grocery stores, they put the candies very low at the eye level for children. If there are movie trailers playing in the background, your eyes, or I should say your ears, will pick up, hey, that sounds like a good movie that I would like. And the ones that you don't necessarily like, you kind of ignore, you don't even really pay attention to. But if there's a movie trailer and you hear it and it sounds good, you're going to turn around because you know yourself and you know that you would like that movie. Here in the valley, we have raspas, lots of snow cones. Now, we're so used to them, we don't pay attention to them. But when you have relatives coming down and they love raspas, and I have family that they come down from Illinois, they're always paying attention. Oh, look, there's a raspa stand. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of them. But for them, it's a novelty. It's something different. And they pay attention to that. Another point I'd like to make about signal detection theory is that it can help you. For example, if there is a bully in your school and you notice the sound of his boots or the sound of his voice from far away, you are now on alert and you can get out of that room or get out of that wherever you are. Or if you have a crush on someone and you hear them walking down the hall, you can pick up just on the sound of their voice, even though it's so faint. But you're going to pick it up where maybe other people wouldn't even notice. That is signal detection theory.